All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are now in flight and we're going to go after those fake leaders. So if you're a fake leader, I got to tell you, just like the weekly video, just click off now because you're going to be offended by the time we're done with you tonight. So if you're a fake leader, you might want to leave. If you're a fake leader with potential, you might want to stick around and find out what you're doing wrong. So, hey, I noticed there's a lot of people in the chat tonight. I'm going to try to keep up with you, but go ahead and chime in. We're talking about the things that fake leaders do and how we can spot them. And go ahead and give me a thumbs up if you can all hear me in the chat, and let's make sure everything is running the way it's supposed to be. So the first thing I want to talk about is one of the big things. It's when you're a fake leader, the first thing you do is when you're promoted into a manager's position, the first thing you do is you get this attitude of, oh my gosh, I have arrived. I finally made it. Now I'm a person of power. I'm a person of stature. I don't have to work so hard. I can be the boss. And you all of a sudden come down with this attitude that, oh my gosh, I have arrived. And it's so far from the truth. And that's how you can sniff out your first fake leader, is they have this attitude, this pious attitude about them that they have arrived and no one else has. And let me know what you think in the chat. Make sure you're talking to me in that chat, because I'm sure you've worked for people like that they all of a sudden get promoted, and it's like, that song Johnny Paycheck. Take this job and shove it. It's the new boss got himself a new haircut, and man, he thinks he's cool. Is part of the lyrics. And I know I'm kind of showing my age, but I think a lot of us remember that song. And he kind of hits the nail on the head there, right? The new boss just came into the organization, and man, he thinks he's cool, and he's the big cheese. He's got this attitude, this piousness about him. And basically what he's doing is he's overcompensating for something. So yeah, if you've ever worked for a person like that, that's exactly what I'm talking about. All of a sudden they get promoted, and boy, they just take off onto the deep end. And I got a long list, so I'm definitely not going to run out of material tonight. And with your help in the chat, I'm sure I won't. This one I love. They automatically think they have to be loud, and they have to act angry all the time. Like, they get this angry dad look on their face. Like, as soon as I walk into the office, I have to look angry. I have to look busy. This persona of inapproachableness. I'm up here, you're down here, leave me alone. They start to create that divide between you and them, and they want to build a fence to create their comfort zone. That, again, like the first thing, they have arrived, and now I'm up here, you're down here, and I have to be loud in order to get my point across, and I have to sound angry. And, a lot of times that has to do with our upbringing. If you're from a family, and I've talked to many colleagues of mine, and they agree, if you're brought up in a family, especially in my day and age, dad was the head of the household, and sometimes, well, in my case, a lot of times he was loud and angry, and that's the way he got his point across. And I'll tell you a story about that in another video, but I was the youngest of 4 brothers, family of 6. We grew up very poor, and my father was very controlling. And the way he controlled the family was being loud and most times angry. I think he was more angry because we were poor than he was actually angry with us. It was just the way things were. But a lot of people get into their first, I don't even want to say leadership role, but they're faking it, trying to be a leader, and they're not realizing that they're coming off fake because I have to be loud and I have to be angry. Let's see what's going on here. Yeah, we have a few people chiming in here. Scott Finger had a manager like that also. Leaders inspire, not dictates. Yes, Chris. We had a guy at Home Team that was like that. Okay. Yeah. Scott Finger says, my father was one of 14. Oh my gosh, think about that. You know, my personal, I've got two sons, happily married, and I've got two sons, and I think that's a big family sometimes. Can you imagine having 13 other siblings? Wow. Nick, you say the loudest and most aggressive people are more often, and I think what you're saying is they're the weakest people. Yes. Oh, okay. Yeah. Asterisk, the weakest. Yeah. You know, they're overcompensating. That's exactly what happens. You know, they're trying to overcompensate for what they actually don't have. A lot of fake leaders will have the it's my way or the highway attitude. And I'll tell you, this is a dangerous thing. I mean, I get it. Come on, I get it. You know, if you're new to leadership or you're new in your new position where you have responsibilities and things like that, yeah, there are those people that you do have to lay down the law with. But is it always my way or the highway? I mean, if you really stop and think about it, that's just a horrible way for these leaders to try to move forward in their life. It's cut and dry. And there's nowhere to go. There's nowhere to go for your team. There's nowhere to go for yourself as a leader. Chris Tyrell says they didn't have TV back then. Yeah, no kidding, right? They probably, well, in my day, they did have TV. It was like 3 channels. You had tinfoil on the rabbit areas, and sometimes you had to give it a little smack on the side to get it from stop squiggling. That's great. That's awesome. And yeah, but the my way or the highway attitude, that's a big telltale sign that you're dealing with a fake leader. And I'm sure, you know, those that are coming in here, we've got a bunch of people that are watching right now. I can see on my monitor, we're moving up in the viewership. So I'm sure there's some people in the crowd right now that are going to relate to some of this. Oh, I hate this one. I absolutely hate this. When a person of power comes out to you and says, "Do what I say and not what I do." That is so disheartening, don't you think? When someone says that, "Do as I say, not as I do." You know, for me personally, it makes me want to look harder at what they're doing. What are you doing? You know, do as I say, not what I, you know, it kind of brings a level of suspicion, I think. Another thing that a fake leader loves to do is operate in the gray areas, especially when it comes to law and ethics. You know, when you have a leader that is saying, you know, there's a gray area and we're going to kind of stay inside of that gray area. Yeah, it's not 100% legal. It's not 100% illegal. It's kind of undefined. And therefore, you know, if we get caught, we can kind of justify the gray area. That's just uncomfortable, isn't it? That's what a fake leader does. You know, in order to push their own agenda, they like to operate inside the gray areas. Taking a look at the chat here, a lot of times it's narcissistic behaviors. Yes, you're right, Scott. It's a good idea to find a mentor to put you in your place and help you in your new role. You know, and that's a thing. You know, sometimes the fake leader lets everything go to their head so quick they don't realize there's more to learn. You know, one of the founding principles of Pathway to Leadership is learn and teach. Learn and teach. And unfortunately, when you have fake leaders, they think they've already learned it all, and there's nothing more for them to learn. And that's unfortunate for them, isn't it? One of the things that a fake leader will do often is keep everybody feeling insecure. They want everybody to feel insecure because they feel like that's a way to motivate people. In other words, you can be replaced at any time. The I don't need you effect. You're here because I let you be here. And the moment I say I don't need you, I'll replace you. That's a horrible way to lead. That is a fake leader's big go-to when they get frustrated and they're not getting the results that they need. They all of a sudden start thinking, you know what, if I'm not getting the results from this person anymore, I'm just going to get rid of them and I'll replace them with someone else. You know, a lot of that stems from not having the experience in leadership that they need. In other words, they're getting promoted too quickly. They're getting promoted without training. They're getting promoted because they're competent in what they do every day, and their leaders think because they're competent, that automatically makes them a leader. And too often, corporations make that mistake over and over and over. Okay? You can be an awesome employee, an awesome team member, but it doesn't mean that you have the skills magically that you can lead a team. And a lot of times they fall into that. They feel so insecure themselves that they feel the only way that they can get ahead is to make others feel more insecure than how they are. Chris says here, a place me and John both worked at in the past would often tell me, if you don't like it, Walmart is hiring. Yeah. And I have a stack of applications who would gladly take your place. Yes, that is the definition of being, number one, insecure as a leader. You know, it's kind of like, I'm not going to help anyone develop. So rather than wasting my time trying to develop people, I'll just keep grabbing new people until I find the right person that's already developed. Does that even make sense? Honestly, does that make sense? You know, let me know in the chat. Does that make sense that leaders can be so lazy that they would just rather keep replacing people than develop them? You know, isn't that just like, I'm just going to take the easy way out. I've got a stack of applications here, and I'll just keep onboarding new people because I'm too lazy to develop the people I've already got. And a lot of times, you know, you have to look back. And it's interesting. I've worked with companies and I said, you know, I wish at day 30 or day 60, I could have a videotaped conversation with your employee and ask them, how do they like it here? And listen to them say, you know, it's so much better here. It's so great and everything like that. And then a year later, after the honeymoon is over, I would love to play that tape back to them. And I'm saying tape, all right? How about digital recording? All right, let's talk 2023. Sorry. I would like to play that recording back to them and say, you know, this is where you were when you were only at day 60. What's changed between day 60 and now? And the same goes for leadership. When you get excited about hiring somebody and they have all the qualifications and you're saying, you know, look, this person's great, they're going to fit the position and everything like that. And at day 60, you're like, oh my gosh, they're progressing wonderfully and they're going to be great. And then a year from then, you're like, oh my gosh, this is too much work. It's too hard. It would be easier to just replace them. You know, I wish there was a way of snapshotting why you were so attracted to bring this person on board into the company back then and what made you fall out of love now. I don't know if that makes sense. And if you need me to clarify more, let me know. But I think I kind of hit it there. It's like after a while, we have to fight the urge to get lazy in leadership. And I know I'm straying off because we're supposed to spot the fake leader. This is more about getting lazy as a leader, but sometimes we want to work so hard that we get everything automatic and it runs on its own that we don't want to manage anymore. We don't want to supervise anymore. We don't want to be leaders anymore. We want to kick back, do our tasks daily, and not worry about everybody else. But unfortunately, everybody else does come with a required level of maintenance. And when that required level of maintenance becomes a little bit more and more and more, do you sometimes think it's just easy to replace that person? Or would it be better to try to develop and further develop that person? So I know I might be getting a little off track and going a little bit weird there, but Scott Finger says, I was told to work for the competition. I was told to clean rodent stations to make penance. Okay. All right, that sounds very interesting. To make penance. Wow, that's a hell of a leader right there that's making you do penance. That is the fake leadership denomination of leaders. Right there, pal. That's interesting. So yeah, they keep the team feeling insecure. They love to threaten in order to motivate. We already went over that in the chat. You guys hit that pretty well, you know, that you can be replaced at any time. But how about, I'm going to write you up. I'm going to write you up. I'm going to send you home if you do that again. You know, rather than taking the time to develop, coach, and train, they immediately want to run to discipline because you know what? That's easy. Fake leaders love to take the easy way out. They don't want to do the hard. See, the hard is pain. So if someone on your team is causing you pain, the first thing the fake leader wants to do is eliminate it. Either you're going to get fired, you're going to get written up, you're going to get disciplined. You know, those are the go-tos. And where do you go from there? You go to, hey, I have to start all over with a new person. That's not really the right way to do it. Chris Tyrell says, a true leader will find what someone's good at and help develop them at where they are not so good. Yeah, exactly. That's true leadership right there. That is absolutely true leadership. Because again, going back to what I was saying, the fake leader takes the easy way out. I'll just get a new employee. That one didn't work out, I get a new one. I'll keep getting new employees until I find the one that does everything I need. That's crazy. That's just crazy. And this is why the video started out with a warning. You know, if you're a fake leader, you're not going to like this video, so click off, go somewhere else. But if you have some of these traits, this is a great place to be. It is a great place to have a learning opportunity. Here's the one thing. This is the one thing that bothers me the most, and I have it in my crib sheet over here. It says, they know it all and you know nothing. Just because someone gets promoted, all of a sudden, they know everything. It's like God came down and put his hands on their head and filled it with all the knowledge that they need. They don't need to learn anything. They got it all because they got promoted. And that makes them automatically smarter than anyone in the room. Isn't that frustrating? Let me know. Give me some thumbs up in the chat if you find that's frustrating, or if you've dealt with people like that. All of a sudden they get a promotion, they get to be in charge, and they know everything. Oh, that disturbs me to no end. And I used to experience that in the military. You know, when in my situation, being in the Air Force, you get your first 3 stripes for free. All you have to do is show up. It's amazing how many people got to their 3rd stripe and became rocket scientists. And I'm like, why are you acting like you're so smart? That came free. You didn't do anything for it. You want to impress me? Get a star, get a rocker. The rocker was when you actually became a bona fide NCO, non-commissioned officer, an actual sergeant. But your first 3 are free. Don't start acting all pious just because, you lasted 3 years. Chat's blowing up here. I got some thumbs up. Yes, absolutely. A true leader needs to be humble. Thank you, Nick. Awesome. Awesome insight. Yes, you need to be humble. You need to surround yourself with people that are smarter than you. That's the true way to show leadership. It's a true way to be humble. You don't know everything. And those that do think or try to make everyone perceive that they know everything, there's a fake leader right there. Just called you out. Here's a great one. They love to throw their title around. Well, I'm the general manager. I'm the supervisor. I'm the vice president. I'm this. I'm that. The I am. So the funny thing is the Latin interpretation of I is ego. Right? Interesting how it is, huh? Ego. Yeah. The ego starts to, and they use their position title. As a matter of fact, a lot of fake leaders put a lot of time and energy into their title. And they have a lot of acronyms that go with it. I'm in charge of this, and this. Hey, there was a lot of times in my life that I was in charge of all the shit no one wanted to do. How's that for a title? Okay, so think about it. Title or position has nothing to do with leadership. But when you have a fake leader, they rely on that title as a sense of power to get what they want. And that's crazy. That's just absolutely crazy. Another thing the fake leader will do is take credit for their department. The reason why their department did so well? Well, of course, it was because of their great leadership. The fact that they cracked down, they got everybody to do what you told them to do. My gosh, you are just absolutely indispensable. And the reason why everybody made their goal and everything like that was personally because of you and no one else. And we've all experienced that, haven't we? We've all experienced those type of people. That's just crazy. I'm passionate about this, and I'm actually getting, as I'm saying all of this in tonight's live, I'm getting anxiety. I want to go back in time and strangle some of these people that I knew. I'm not going to actually do that. Disclaimer, I will not actually do that. If anything should happen to any of my ex-bosses or supervisors, it has nothing to do with me. I don't even know where they are. But if I could, I was thinking about it. But yeah, they use title to their advantage. They take credit for their department. And even worse, they get really good at making excuses. Right? Think about it. How come you didn't make your goals? Well, it's his fault. It's this person's fault. It's the economy. It's we're in a leap year. St. Patrick's Day landed on a Thursday. It's the 38th of March. I mean, all of these ridiculous excuses, and they practice these excuses over and over throughout their career because they're so fake that they even start to believe them themselves. Think about that. They start to believe their own excuses for their own failures. You say the same thing over and over enough times, yeah, you are going to start to believe it. And that works in a negative way and a positive way. You start saying positive things about yourself every day, and they're truthful. After a while, you're going to start to understand that, yes, these are positive things about you, and you start to believe them. It's a way of building self-confidence. But on the opposite effect, if you start using excuses to justify your failures over and over and over again, you start to get so used to them that you believe them. It has such a detrimental impact. And the fake leader gets really good at making excuses. So if you've ever been in sales, and salespeople know this, how come you didn't make any sales today? Well, it was a full moon. And then the next thing you know, you keep saying it's a full moon. Every single full moon, you're going to wake up and you're going to look outside in the morning and you're going to go, oh, it's a full moon. I'm not going to make any sales today. Because you start to believe what your excuses are. It's incredible how that works. It's just so dumbfounding. It's absolutely dumbfounding. So, we got some new people in the chat. Hey, Henry, welcome to the chat. Nice to see you in there. So yeah, they love to make excuses. How about this? How about the fake leaders don't think anything about disrespecting you? They don't put a lot of thought in what they say and what comes out of their mouth, how they communicate. You know, and at Pathway to Leadership, if you've seen some of my other videos or you've been on some of these lives, I try to concentrate and teach as much communication skills as I can. But one of the things that I notice about fake leaders is they have a total disregard when it comes to respecting others. As a matter of fact, some of them might actually find it refreshing for themselves to be disrespectful. In other words, the only way to get across to this person is to disrespect them to get their attention. That doesn't work out very well, does it? I mean, not on the team members' point of view, that's for sure. So disrespecting others. How about blaming others for your failures? That's great. You know. So if you're in charge of a department and your department fails, the fake leader, although we already know they're really good at making excuses, well, the reasons, and there's going to be a lot of thought process behind this, the reasons why things failed and what they're going to blame it on is either others or other events. Okay? There wasn't enough days in the month. There was a hurricane. There was a bad thunderstorm. There was this. There was that. Those are all the reasons why the department failed. It's not my fault. See, the fake leader never takes ownership of failure. Never. See, great leaders do. They take ownership and they work and strive to make things better in the future if they ever come across those situations again. But the fake leader never takes ownership for their failures. They never take ownership for the downfalls. And they never take ownership for the downfalls of the people that are under them. See, a true leader will see the mistakes of the people that they are leading and take ownership of them, because ultimately they know it's their responsibility. See, and that's another video about taking responsibility. All right, owning your responsibilities. Well, when you're a true leader, you take ownership and responsibility of everything around you. And when you start to do that, you realize that the failures that happen underneath you, you're responsible for. I'm not saying that it's your fault. What I'm saying is you're responsible for it. Those are training opportunities to develop your team. See, ultimately, the leader is responsible to develop their team, and therefore they need to concentrate on those that are failing underneath them to bring them up to a level of success. But the fake leader is never going to do it. They'll always keep those people down, so they always have someone to blame all of their failures on. Scott says, I once made $4,000 worth of sales in a month. I was mocked for it because it was near Christmas at a branch meeting. Was humiliating. My teammates stuck up for me. Well, good. That's good that your teammates stuck up for you. We are our own leaders. First and foremost, we need to be accountable for our own actions. Absolutely. Absolutely. And we're going to touch base on that just a little bit more here in a bit about what Scott just said there. And I'm glad you brought that up. Another thing that drives me crazy about fake leaders is they love to surround themselves with a bunch of yes people. All right? You know why? Because they can't have the spine to deal with conflict. They don't have the spine to deal with negotiation. They don't have the spine to listen to other people's point of views. Because of all the other things that we talked about this evening, it's spineless. Spineless leaders are fake leaders. In other words, a leader needs to stand up for their people, their teammates. They need to be in between their crew and the people above them. All right? They're the stand between. Okay? You want to get to them, you have to go through me. I am going to stand up for them. Okay? I will sacrifice myself before I allow anyone on my team to get sacrificed. If that makes sense. That's true leadership right there. You have to go through me. But when you surround yourself with a bunch of yes people, you're showing that, well, I don't deal good with conflict, so I don't want to have anyone on my team that's going to challenge my authority. Because remember, I'm a fake leader. I'm insecure. I don't want to get challenged. I need to make things go as smooth as possible because I'm lazy. I don't want to develop anyone. And because I'm surrounded by a bunch of people that keep saying yes, 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 when things go bad, these are the people I'm going to blame. And you know what? If I tell them I'm going to blame you and you're going to like it, they're going to say, oh, of course, yes, that sounds fine, boss. Go ahead and blame me. I'll take it. Where the leader should take it, the yes people will take it. It's crazy. It's crazy. Henry says here, worked for a place like that, and it drove so many good people away. It was heartbreaking. Yeah, it does. It does. Because of lazy leadership. It is. It does barrel down to lazy leadership. One of the other things that I've noticed is when, well, there's two things. Fake leaders, because they don't like confrontation, will take an entire team and bring them into a room. And if one person on that team did something wrong that needs to be corrected, rather than confronting that one person, they're going to confront the entire team. Because it's easier. I'm going to address them as a group. So, let's say you have a group of 10 people. 9 have never missed a day's work and have always, always, always been on time. Carl over here comes in late one day, doesn't call, doesn't do anything. Well, rather than confront Carl personally, the fake leader says, well, we need to have a meeting. I'm going to get everybody in the room. Okay, everybody, I want you to know right now, I will not accept anyone being late without calling in. So, in other words, he's going to chastise the entire group because he's afraid of one-on-one confrontation because he's a fake leader. Because that's easy. That's easy. He's not going to single anyone out. Non-confrontational. I'm just going to tell the whole group. I'm going to make everybody suffer because Carl forgot to call me. That's fake leadership right there, and we just spotted you out. Scott Fingers says, like punishing a class at school for the actions of one. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Let's punish everybody because one person screwed up. And the other part about that is publicly shames or disciplines others. And that's so that they can establish their authority. Now to me, that's just sick. Okay? It's like having a department meeting and you're going to single one person out in the middle of that meeting and say, hey, you screwed up right in front of everybody. Because again, you're a fake leader. You don't want that confrontation, that one-on-one confrontation. So rather than pulling that person aside and having that healthy conversation and doing that corrective action, you do it in front of everyone because you're insecure and you're going to make everybody feel like you're an authority. You're exercising your power. Man, couldn't believe how he just called so-and-so out in front of the whole meeting. Yeah. So for all you fake leaders that happen to be watching, if you are out there watching this, stop doing that. That's just crazy talk. All right? And for those that have ever been in that situation, then you can use that to spotlight what a fake leader really looks like. And I know I'm being controversial tonight, but I think it's just something that we needed to talk about. You know, most of my videos and training sessions, you know, they're very positive and uplifting. But every once in a while, that yin and yang effect starts to take over me, and I just have to, I have to go on my rant because I come across so many fake people out there. It drives me crazy. There's no authenticity. You know, their entire leadership skills came from 3 books they decided to read, and that's it. They don't put into practice what they learned. They don't put into practice anything that comes out of their mouth. In other words, they talk the talk, but they don't walk the walk. I know it's an old saying, but it's so true. You know, and those type of leaders, they just frustrate me. As a matter of fact, I don't even want to call them leaders anymore. Hey, here's a challenge. Let's put in the chat. Let's not call them leaders anymore. What are we going to call them? Hey, keep it clean. All right? Keep it clean because your chat is going to be on the replay. But, hey, I'm going to open it up to you guys. What do you think we should call fake leaders? I don't want to call them bosses or managers because they actually have a place in the chain of command. But what can we label for pathway to leadership when we're talking about fake leaders? What should we call them? Maybe positors or something like that. You know, get creative. Throw me some stuff out there. All right, but keep it clean, please. So yeah, we just talked about publicly shaming others. Another thing they love to do is they love to exaggerate successes, no matter how small and how big of a role that they, Scott Finger, cowards. Yeah, I got you. Fake leaders love to exaggerate any bit of success, and they make it into a mountain. Okay? Gee, you know, I'm sure we've come across that. And not only do they exaggerate the success, they exaggerate their part of the success. So if their team met goal, and I'm just using that as an example. I'm an old sales dog, so I'm just going to say that. Let's say, you know, we're talking about sales. So if your team met their sales goal, the fake leader is going to just super exaggerate their role. What I did to make my team hit their sales goal. What I did. It was so big. It was such a huge thing. Okay? They're not talking about exceeding goal. They're talking about just hitting the goal. That's what I mean about that. They love to exaggerate success, no matter how small. It's such a big mountain because, I'm going to say the word again, fake leaders are insecure. And in my weekly video, this was the very first thing that I brought up. Henry says, I can't believe how much you're hitting the nail on the head with this. It's not negative, it's the truth. Thank you, Henry. I know, every once in a while. You know, actually, Henry, I think this might be your first time in the chat. You're probably catching me on a rare moment. I'm not usually this aggressive in my videos, but this is something I'm just so passionate about. You know, leadership can have a bad name. I want to make sure that there's such a, everyone knows the difference between leaders, bosses, fake leaders, you know, people like that. And I think it's really important that we all understand what certain traits fake leaders have. So I'm gonna bring it to this here in the weekly video. The very first thing that I brought up about spotting a fake leader was the fact that they love to use phrases. They love to, like, books that they read, they'll say, you know, oh, this phrase and that phrase. They'll just love to throw it out to make them sound smart, to make them sound like leaders. Well, I want you to pay close attention. And this is going to hurt a lot of people's feelings. And to be honest with you, this might be the time that you hear it. Use your own material. If you are a true leader, okay, and you're going to call yourself a leader, you're going to act like a leader, you're going to walk the path of a leader, you're going to learn and teach, you should be able to come up with your own material. You shouldn't have to rely all the time on the phrases, catchphrases, quotes of others. It's okay to reference them once in a while. But true leaders create their own. They create their own content. They create their own material. They create their own phrases. Think about that. If you're a true leader, you should not have to rely on everyone else's material to make you sound like a leader or to justify what you're doing. You should have enough real-world experience under your belt that you're creating your own. I don't want to be offensive, but sometimes as young leaders, and I mean not young as age, but when you first get into leadership and you start going down the path, it's okay to use those things to add credibility to yourself. And I agree. If you have to use Dale Carnegie, Leo Buscaglia, Dan Pena, some quotes here and there, to legitimize the things that you're trying to do. At first, that's great. And what happens is, as we grow in our leadership roles, we start to use it as a dependency or a crutch. We're not expanding ourselves. There has to be a time where we start creating our own material, our own dialogue, our own phrases. And I hope that makes sense to you. Because if you're going to go through life trying to be a leader on the coattails of somebody else's success, well, it goes back to, do you have 1 year of experience or do you have 20 years of experience? Right? Well, the question, what's the difference? The difference is the person with 20 years of experience has grown for 20 years. The other person has 1 year of experience that he repeated 20 times. And I love that phrase. And it's a play off of someone else's terminology. But I've gotten to experience that personally in my life, where I've met people that haven't grown. They haven't grown in their leadership skills. They haven't moved forward. They rely on the books that they read, the videos that they watch, and they add key elements of that to their vocabulary and their speech just so that they sound smarter and more intelligent and more like leaders. But in essence, you peel that all away, there's still a 1 year leader. And they just keep repeating it year after year. And it's disheartening. And fake leaders do that. They cover up their inefficiencies with the successful criteria and content of others, because they're incapable of creating it themselves. I hope that makes sense. Scott Finger says, this is tapping into so many truths. Nick says, I like it. Keep the fire going. Well, I don't know about that. I don't know if I want to keep the fire going too much. But, but getting back to that, and, I've got so many notes here. I mean, look at this. Look at these notes. All right, I've been jotting things down. This is how crazy it's been about this. But I want to end tonight by saying, what we talked about is great. It needed to come to light. But, and I'm looking at my notes here, and I wanted to bring to light the fact is, well, what do you do? What do you do when you're spotting things about a leader that's fake? Well, here's what's most important, and I'm going to I'm just going to hold it up, and I'm not embarrassed by this. You see so many of these YouTubers and these channels, and they make it sound so good and easy and everything like that. Well, they've got way more money than me, and they've got way more equipment. But here's my piece of equipment. All right, it's a piece of paper and a pen. Well, the first thing I wrote here, the first thing to do is understand that we are all human. Everyone makes mistakes. There's no such thing as a perfect leader. Number 2, if possible, ask. So, again, so I'm gonna bring a quick story here. I was talking to a colleague, and he told me a story because I was talking to him about fake leadership, and I wanted to do this video, and he says, well, I want to tell you a story. He says, I was a junior pastor for a church, and there was a senior pastor, and, I was learning how to be a pastor, and he said, I had a concern that every time I would look into that office, the senior pastor was never there. He was never at his desk, never there. And I went about my business, and I was training, and this individual was going through seminary at the time. And, who knows? He might actually be watching right now. So I won't exaggerate the story. But what he told me was he consulted somebody else, another pastor in training or someone else in the seminary. And he said, I'm really concerned. He goes, my senior pastor, he's never here. What if someone needs him or anything like that? This person simply said, well, why don't you go and ask him? Ask him what he's up to. What is he doing? Why is he never in his office? Why is he never at his desk? Well, the junior pastor said, I'm going to do that. So he went to him. And he said, look, he says, I've got this concern. He says, I'm always wondering, every time I look in your office, I never see you at your desk. He says, I'm concerned. What if someone needs you? Well, the senior pastor simply said, my mission is not accomplished by sitting at my desk. My mission is accomplished by being in hospitals, being by someone's bedside when they're dying or sick, being in someone's house when they're going through turmoil. My mission is not accomplished by answering phones and sitting behind a desk all day. And if you would like, I would invite you to join me for a few days so you can see what exactly my mission is. And the junior pastor actually went out there. All right, my colleague went out there and spent a couple days with him and came back speechless. Because too many times we don't understand that there's a lot going on beyond what we're actually seeing day to day. So I want to recap. First, what to do. When you think you have a fake leader, understand we're all human. There's no such thing as a perfect leader. Number 2, ask. Ask and have that healthy conversation. Have that healthy conversation that you're concerned. Okay, that what you're seeing, you're not feeling right about. Maybe you might need to be enlightened. And where is it? I'm so flustered tonight. This is so cool. And finally, this is the third thing. If you're dealing with a fake leader that happens to be at the top of your organization, there's nobody above that person. Okay. Well, let's take a step back before we get there. If there is somebody above your leader, and after asking you haven't gotten anywhere, go to their leader and express your concerns. Maybe you'll be enlightened and given some answers that you weren't aware of before. Or maybe you're doing a service by bringing to light to that leader how your leader is actually performing. Don't be afraid of that. Because if you do truly believe about the organization that you're with and truly believe in what you're doing every day, and if you are truly on your own pathway to leadership, you're going to do the right thing. Okay, I'm not saying go to their leader and start complaining, oh, he did this, he did that. No, it's a healthy conversation of please enlighten me. I don't understand. That's the best way to approach that. Okay? And finally, if you're dealing with a leader who is at the very top, the CEO, the number one dog, and they're a fake leader, well, then it's time to do a self-evaluation. Is the organization healthy for your personal future and growth? You have to ask yourself that, and you have to make that decision. Because if the decision is no, it's not, you got to get out of there. There are other opportunities in life for you. If you look hard enough, you will find the right place for you in life. You don't have to be stuck. And I do encourage you, look at the video. Go to the Pathway to Leadership library and look at the video, how to unstuck yourself. Okay? You don't have to be stuck. If you're at the top, there's nowhere to go, that person is a fake leader, then self-evaluate. Is that the right organization for you? So again, I want to finalize everything that we talked about. We really gave fake leaders a big bashing tonight. I actually feel better. I'm breathing good. I'm actually excited. We really bashed the heck out of them. Okay? But I also wanted to bring to light, the conclusion. What do you do? And so I don't want it to be all about bashing leaders. Fake leaders. Fake leaders. I want to be very clear. Fake leaders. What I wanted to do was make sure we saw both sides. A lot of times we can characterize somebody as being a fake leader because we don't know all the facts. So be cautious. On your pathway to leadership, be cautious when you're starting to label people. Because if you don't have all the facts, you're going to fall flat. You're going to make a lot of mistakes. So I encourage you. First of all, understand there's no such thing as a perfect leader. Number two, if possible, ask. Number three, ask their immediate leadership. And number four, evaluate yourself to make sure you're in the right organization to begin with. Because each of us have a place in this life to grow and to be absolutely amazing. Each one of us are amazing. And I believe that more and more every day. Well, I hope you got something out of tonight's video. On those that are on the replay, please put some comments down below on how you found things out. Be super critical. I respond to all. Henry Shook says you have to play the guitar at the end. You know what? I don't play that guitar. I know about 3 songs and they're extreme. Smoke on the Water. I think it's like so easy. I think a lot of people in the scenario are afraid to have that conversation and think they could have a negative impact. Yeah, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right. But as you travel down the pathway of leadership, okay, you're going to be armed with knowledge. Knowledge is everything. All right? Knowledge is everything. Going half-cocked down a path with half the knowledge and a quarter of ambition, that's what usually gets you in trouble. So, yeah, you're in the right place. Learning, developing your skills, learning your communication skills. When I say have a healthy conversation, I'm not talking about being confrontive. I'm talking about having an actual healthy conversation. So I'm going to leave it at this. Please make sure you hit that thumbs up for me. That tells the algorithm that people actually like what's going on here at Pathway to Leadership. Go ahead and share it out to your family and friends. For those of you that are in the chat, I believe we're going to be starting an in-person Pathway to Leadership class tomorrow evening. I can't wait to see you all there. Bring your amazing comments, and I hope to see the same amount of engagement in person as we do see online. I'm looking very excited for that. And with that, I'm just going to say, hey, I'm going to see you next time on Pathway to Leadership.